Blubbo Badger with some blood loss. Hey, hon. Sorry if I seem spacey during our call. Interacting with people is harder than interacting with a camera. I hope your dinner went really well. And I want to reiterate how great it is, how much you cycled today, and how quick you're getting. That's pretty fantastic. And I'm not going to let you live that down, which is a good thing. Alright, I think we're going to finish this up tonight. We don't have too much left. This book is smaller than I anticipated. The Cavity. The Mystery Cat. The Cavity's a mystery cat. He's called the Hidden Paw, for he's the master criminal who can defy the law. He's the bafflement of Scotland Yard and the flying squad's despair, for when they reach the scene of the crime, McCavity's not there. McCavity, there's no one like McCavity. He's broken every human law, he breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare, and when you reach the scene of the crime, McCavity's not there. McCavity's a ginger cat. He's very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought, and his head is highly domed. His coat is dusty from neglect, his whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake, and when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. That's like me. McCavity, there's no one like McCavity, for he's a fiend of feline shape, a monster of depravity. For you may meet him in a by-street, you may see him in the square, but when the crime's discovered, then McCavity's not there. He's an outwardly respectable, they say he cheats at cards. And his footprints are not found in any of Scotland's Yard. And when the lard is looted, or the jewel case is rifled, or when the milk is missing, or another peak's been stifled, or the greenhouse glass is broken and the trellis past repair, aye, there's a wonder of the thing, McCavity's not there. And when the Foreign Office and the treaty's gone awry, or when the Admiralty loses some plans and drawings by the way, there may be a scrap of paper in the holler on the stair, but it's useless to investigate, McCavity's not there. So when the loss has been discovered and the Secret Service say, I must have been McCavity, but he's a mile away, they'll sure to find him wrestling or licking his thumbs or engaged in doing complicated long division sums. I like this cat. McCavity, there's no one like McCavity. There never was a cat of such deceitfulness and suavity. He always has an alibi, and one or two to spare, and whenever there's deed took place, McCavity wasn't there. They say that all the cats whose wicked deeds are widely known, I might mention Mungo Jerry, I might mention Griddlebone, and nothing more than agents for the cat who all the time just controls the operations, the Napoleon of crime. Gus, the theater cat. Gus is the cat at the theater door. His name, as I have told you before, is really Asparagus. That's such a fuss to pronounce. We usually call him just Gus. His coat's very shabby. He's thin as a rake. He suffers from palsy. It makes him paw shake. And that he was in his youth quite the smartest of cats, but no longer a terror to mice or to rats, for he isn't the cat that he was in his prime, though his name was quite famous, he says, in his time. And whenever he joins his friends at their club, which takes place at the back of the neighborhood pub, he loves to regale them if someone else pays, with anecdotes drawn from his palmiest days, where he was once a star of the highest degree. He acted with Irving, he acted with Tree. He liked to relate his success in the halls, where the gallery once gave him 7 catcalls. But his grandest creation, as he loves to tell, was Fire for Fiddle, the fiend of the fell. I have played, so he says, every possible part, and I used to know 70 speeches by heart. I'd extemporize back-chat, I knew how to gag, I knew how to let the cat out of the bag, I knew how to act with my back and my tail, with an hour of rehearsal I never could fail. I'd a voice that would soften the hardest of hearts, whether I took the lead or in character parts. I sat by the bedside of poor little Nell, and the curfew was rung and I swung on the bell. In the pantomime season I never fell flat, and once I understudied Dick Whittington's cat. Dick Whittington. My greatest creation, as history will tell, was Fire for Fiddle, the fiend of the fell. When if someone will give him a toothful of gin, then he will tell how he once played the bard in East Lynne. As a Shakespeare performance, he once walked on Pat when some actor suggested they needed for a cat. He once played a tiger, he could do it again, which was an Indian colonel pursued down a drain, and he thinks and he still can, much better than most, produce most blood-curdling noises to bring on the ghost. And he once crossed the stage on a telegraph wire to rescue a child when a house was on fire. And he says now these kittens, they do not get trained as we did back in Victoria reigned. They will never get drilled with regular troop, and they think they are smart just to jump through a hoop. And he'll say as he scratches himself with his claws, well, the theatre is certainly not what it was. These modern productions are all very well, but there's nothing to equal, from what I hear tell, that moment of mystery when I made history is fire for fiddle, the fiend is a fell. What the heck? I haven't read these already, have I? No, I haven't. But now I'm at Westerford Jones, and I don't know why. Maybe the page is stuck. And I've read Skimbleshanks. But how am I at the end? I wasn't at the end before. I really hope I haven't read these before. I don't think I did. Well, I haven't read the added... I'm reading the added dressing of cats. You've read of several kinds of cats, as my opinion now is that you should need no interpreter to understand their character. You now have learned enough to see that cats are much like you and me and other people whom we find possessed of various types of mind, for some are sane and some are mad, and some are good and some are bad, and some are better, some are worse, but all may be described in verse. You've seen them both at work in games and learnt about their proper names, their habits and their habitat, but how would you address a cat? So first your memory I'll jog, and say a cat is not a dog. Now often dogs pretend they like to fight, they often bark, more seldom bite, but yet a dog is on the whole what you would call a simple soul. Of course I'm not including peaks and such fantastic canine freaks. The usual dog about the town is much inclined to play the clown, as far from showing too much pride is frequently undignified. He's very easily taken in. He'll chuck him underneath his chin, or slap his back and shake his paw, and he will gamble and guffaw. He's such an easy-going lout, he'll answer any hail or shout. Again, I must remind you that a dog's a dog, a cat's a cat. With cats, some say, when rule is true, don't speak until you're spoken to. Myself, I do not hold with that. I say you should always address a cat. But always keep in mind that he resents familiarity. I bow, and taking off my hat, address him in his form, "Oh, cat!" But if he is the cat next door, whom I have often met before, he comes to see me in my flat, and I greet him with an "Oops, a cat!" But I've heard him call him James Buzz James. We've got so far as names, but before a cat will be condescend to treat you as a trusted friend, some little token of esteem is needed, like a dish of cream. And you might have now and then supply some caviar or Strasbourg pie. A potted grouse or salmon paste, I'm sure to have his personal taste. I know a cat who makes a habit of eating nothing else but rabbit, and when he's finished licks his paws, so not to waste the onion sauce. A cat's entitled to expect these evidences of respect, and in so time you reach your aim, and finally call him by his name. So this is this, and that is that, and there's how you address a cat. And the final one of the book. Cat Morgan introduces himself. I was once a pirate that sailed the high seas, but I've now retired as a commissionary. And that's how you find me a taking my ease and keeping the door in Bloomsbury Square. I'm partial to partridges, likewise to grouse, and I do favour the Devonshire cream in a bowl. But I'm allus content with a drink on the house and a bit of cold fish when I do my patrol. I ain't got much polish, my manners is gruff, but I've got a good coat and I keep myself smart. And everyone says they can guess that's enough, but you can't like Morgan. He's got a kind art. I got knocked about in the Barbary Coast, and my voice ain't no such mellifluous horgan. But yet I can say that I'm not one to boast, that some of the gals is dead keen on old Morgan. See, if you have business with Faber or Faber, I'll give you this tip, and it's worth a lot more. You'll save yourself time, and you'll spare yourself labor, if just you make friends with the cat at the door. And that is Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats. Oh! I felt like my reading was better today, which is odd to say the least, but I feel like it is for sure. Woo. I just set up Netflix for the family. Maybe they'll have Community on there. Then we won't have to do any more downloading stuff. That would be nice. I would appreciate that. A big huggy bunch. In the meantime, sleep well, keep calm, find a llama, carry on. I love you so dearly. I'm glad you're having a good time. I hope dinner was good. And I'll see you soon. I love you, Christy. Sleep well and dream sweetly. Good night.